Today I'm going to be diving into this book and do a small project from it. Join me as I master the basics from Craig Stephan's The Beginner's Guide to Oil Painting. Now this one is a beginner level project and I think it's perfect for the demo, and I love how he's transformed this low-key plum into something so vibrant. Let's see if we can replicate it by just following the instructions. Now I'll be painting with acrylics, so I'm using a slow dry medium from Liquitex, a few brushes and a palette knife to mix the colors. Now all the projects in this book are done with a limited color palette, so you don't need a lot of paints to do these projects. Also, I'll be using the quinacridone magenta instead of the alizarin crimson, as I don't have any alizarin crimson in my palette. Now the first two steps is blocking in the subject and mixing the colors, and also I'll be keeping the book propped up behind and not keep on bringing it in focus, otherwise I would just dirty it with a lot of paint. To block in the subject, I have diluted the blue with a little bit of the slow dry medium. I find the vertical center of the panel and just map out the basic shapes. Also, I'm sharing the link in my description for the previous video where I just do a basic flip through of this whole book. After blocking in the basic shape, he always pre-mixes his colors. Since they're oils, there is no issue about drying, but since I'm using acrylics, I'll be adding in the slow dry medium so that the paints don't dry off. For the plum, I'm mixing up two violets, one which is having more of the magenta and the other which is having more of the blue. And then I just mix in the lighter values by adding in more white. So I have the colors ready for the plum. Once we've got the colors for the plum, it's now time to mix the background and the cast shadow and the foreground colors. A vibrant orange is mixed using the yellow and the red, which is now made less vibrant by adding white, and once I get the correct value, I'll be adding more of the blue in it to make it more neutralized. For the foreground, I'll be adding in more white so that it is lighter than the background. It's time to bring out the paint brushes and just start painting. I establish the darkest dark first, that is the occlusion area inside the stem hollow as well as the body of the plum. As I paint the mid values, I take care to paint it warmer towards the light, that is the one which has more of the magenta towards the lighter areas where there is light falling, and the bluish areas in the shadow as well as the reflected areas. As you paint in the mid-tones and the half tones, he tells you to be aware of the temperature shift that's happening, that is to be aware from where the light is coming, so take care to keep it more warmer. Now that the plum has been painted in, it's time to put in the background color as well as the shadow area so that we can check the relationships between the colors. An important thing to remember is that acrylics dry darker, that is because of the binder which is present in them is whitish when it's wet, but when it dries, it becomes transparent. Now here the colors that I have mixed are already pretty dark as compared to what they are in the book, but somehow I like the colors, so I'm just leaving it like that and I'm not going to be lightening it. The final phase in the painting is just adding the highlights in the right areas and also softening the edges wherever needed. The highlights are just not plain white, but they are the colors which we had mixed before, adding in more white in them. Now in a special note in this chapter, he mentions about remembering the four properties of the color, that is the hue, temperature, vibrancy and value, and you need to have a contrast of at least one of them in the focal point of your painting. The plum in this painting is darker, cooler and more vibrant than its background. And that wraps up our demo. I hope this session has given you a taste of the techniques and tips this book has to offer. If you enjoyed this video or have any book suggestions, do drop a comment below. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care, keep creating and exploring new artistic possibilities.